KLS. LEC. L for lion, E for elephant, C for cat. LEC. K for kite. Then again L, lion. Then X, X-ray. So the first question goes like this. Not going inside. It is about to go inside because many of them entered. Yeah, I can see that at least three of them entered. So the first question that I posted, you can read for yourself. What is the first question? What is your personal motivation to take up a teaching career? If you type your answers, it will be displayed on the word cloud. Okay. Those of you who are sitting on this side can see it in the laptop. Okay. Others cannot see the screen because your screen is not connected to. Yeah, I am getting the response. I will read it now. So the response, somebody said, my professor. Okay, somebody said, my professor is the motivation. And one more answer was my teacher. One more answer is Kalam. Then my dad. Then my professor. Can you see the responses? These are the responses that we get. Then my botany man, my school teacher, to give free education. Okay. So the responses are appearing here. Okay. So those of you who cannot see, I can actually show you. Can you see now? Your responses are appearing here. Okay. You can have the same responses on the screen if the laptop is connected. Okay. So this type of activity is actually called as word program. This is just to engage you. Okay. So what brought you to this particular field? Okay. There should be some motivation, right? So we don't do the profession of teaching. We don't practice the profession of teaching just for a paying job. Okay. Some may have that objective, but a teacher should be motivated. Only then engaging. So now we'll go to the next question. Shall we go to the next question? Okay, of course there are some interesting answers. Okay, we'll discuss later. I would like to hear from you why you responded in a certain way. Okay, why your professor, or why your teacher, or why your dad, or why not, or why you want to give free education. Okay, those responses, whoever actually put those answers, will interact at the end of the session. Okay. So next question. Next question is name your favorite teacher and the subject. Okay, many names are appearing here. Pavitra ma'am, Cecilia ma'am, Suguma sir. Okay, too many names are coming. Name Naveen, then Manju ma'am, physics teacher. Okay, many responses are coming here. Okay, all those are your responses. Okay. So we have many inspirations. So we don't just come here to stay from 9 to 3 or 3:30, and at the end of the month we get some money and we go home. So this is not like an industry job. This is something different, right? So we deal with people. So in industry, a person is dealing with machines. But who are we dealing with? We are dealing with students who are coming in blood and flesh. They also have feelings. Okay, so we are not actually dealing with machines. So we have different objective. To be a teacher, we should have a larger objective compared to any other worker working in the field of working in any industry or any other field. Okay. So too many responses are there because everyone we have an inspiration. I do have some inspirations. You may be having many inspirations. Your inspirations are here. Okay, probably we'll come back to that. I will read some to you. Okay, somebody mentioned as Arun Modi ma'am, computer staff. Then Chellappan sir, finance. Then AMSA, biology. Pavitra, Java programming. Then Evelyn ma'am, Jacinta ma'am, Manjula ma'am, mathematics grade, Ravi sir. Two names are coming. Okay. So each name, each teacher that you mentioned here would have inspired you in some manner. We all have a connection to that person. We are here not because of the money that the college is paying, not because your home people are asking you to work to earn money, but we come here because of larger than these things. Okay. Now for inspiration, we connect to some teachers. Okay. So all this has brought you to this particular thing. Right? So I would like to hear from you. Okay, but not now. We have one more question to go. Okay. Go to the next question. Still responses are coming. The responses are coming. Okay. Do you enjoy teaching?
Yes.
There are three answers. See, your answers are completely anonymous. Nobody is going to see who is responding. Okay, so you just type whatever you feel, frankly. Okay, after the session, it's may change. Okay, so you can put either yes or no, or sometimes, okay, or never. You can type whatever responses. None of your responses are recorded. None of it is recorded on your name. Okay, so feel free. Whatever you like, you just type the response. You can get getting responses from here. So we have 51 responses saying yes, and only one response saying sometimes. Okay, and none of you, because of the fear that NPC here is here, vice principal is here, and some officials, HODs may be here. Okay, because of them, we are not taking no. May I take it like that? No. So it is a no. Okay. So this is the third one. So this makes the class because we interact with it. So what am I doing now? I'm not just reading the slides. Okay. So I'm not going to read the slides. I'm going to interact with it. Right? So this is one way in which you can make the classroom engage. Okay. So now we start with the first question. Okay. I asked you four questions. Okay. The first question is what is your motivation? Probably the first and second questions are interconnected. Second question is who is your favorite teacher? What is your favorite subject? So I would like to hear from you. If you are not willing to answer, I will go back to the slide and I will refer to the names and I will give you the mic. So you are going to talk. Okay. Is it right? Okay. I told you. So I am not going to keep you sitting. Okay. You need to talk. You need to walk. You need to run around. Okay. Sometimes. Okay. So there will be a lot of activity in this session. So I would like to hear from you. So what motivated you? The names are about me. So we start with somebody mentioned as my dad. Who's that? Feel free. My dad about me. Okay. Okay. You can sit and answer. Somebody answer Kalam. Abdul Kalam. Okay.
Actually, what inspired me is I didn't even see is outdoor is partly or students impact the tolerance. So empathy that made me inspired to answer this question.
So you are never going to so actually towards your students.
Sometimes, but not all the time.
So any other responses for the first question? Motivation. Everyone wants to respond. Any other response? Now, what would you like to say? Now, okay. So you can also talk. So any other responses that you gave? That is for the second question also you can answer. Okay, what motivates you? There were many names. Okay, there was one name as Alpha. Who wrote Alpha? Okay, so you can answer. So please start with there was some name as Amit sir. Okay. There was one name. Okay, next, the response from the earlier.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my name G. Pavitra, Java programming கொடுத்தேன்னா எனக்கு ஜாவாவே தெரியாது. நான் UGCS சொல்ல நான் ஃபுல்லாமே கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூல்ல படிச்சேன். சிஎஸ் ஒரு தடவை எடுத்தது நான் எடுத்து ஃபுல்லாமே ஏ குரூப் தான் எடுத்தேன். ஃபுல்லாமே பயோமேக்ஸ். சிஎஸ் பத்தி ஒண்ணுமே தெரியாது. ஃபுல்லாமே எனக்கு என்ன சி பிளஸ் ஜாவா ஜாவானா என்ன ஃபுல்லாமே எங்க மேம் தான். ஸோ அதனால எனக்கு ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ஜாவா. ஜாவா அதனால எனக்கு இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன் ஆகும்.
Very nice to hear. Okay, because one of the inspirational teachers is among you. Okay, so happy to hear that. There are any other names? There is Naveen sir. Okay, that's nice. Naveen sir, responsible. You can hear.
First of all, I will say so now maths constantly started with multiplication and grammar. So the grammars படிக்க அது எப்படி ஃப்ளூயண்டா வரும். Then நீங்க ஒரு ஸ்டாஃப் ஆனா எப்படி இருக்கும் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு மோட்டிவேஷன் வந்து எனக்கு ஸ்கூல் படிக்கிறப்ப அவங்க கொடுத்துருந்தாங்க.
One name as Cecilia, Jessica. Okay, so these names are coming to my mind now. Okay, who answered Jessica?
Cecilia ma'am is in front of me, sir. She is very kind to everyone, sir. Even if you have any trouble in our personal, we are ready to share as a staff, as a student. And she never bursts her emotions among the students, sir. That is the main thing I like her very much, sir. And my second teacher is my mother, sir. So mom, and every day she teaches me something, and his main subject is cooking. For me, how to cook, how to balance our personal life. So my favorite teacher is Cecilia, and one more is my mom. Sir. Thanks.
Many of these responses coming from here, so I can understand that many of these very good. Okay, and any other response? There was one name, Jessica. Okay.
So when I was studying 7th standard, this is my mom because used to teach social science for us. So whenever we commit mistake, as a student, whenever we do mistake, what my teacher used to tell us, she won't call the name up. Child, what is this you have made this mistake? Ask sorry and sit down. So whenever we make mistake, we find it as a point. Okay, whatever we do, we can ask sorry to this person. But later on, I found out that she didn't teach me the lesson. She taught me the value. So if we commit a mistake, don't hesitate. Go ask for sorry. So I learned the value from her. So she's my inspiration. I'm trying to apply that in my academic life.
Excellent. We got beautiful responses. Okay. So now the question is whether our students will remember us like that. நீங்கள் உங்களுக்கு ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் ஒரு இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன் இருக்குல்ல, இது மாதிரி நம்ம வந்து ஆனமஸா கனெக்ட் சர்வே. Will our students say my name? I mean, will my students say my name as his favorite teacher? Did I do something to become the favorite teacher? This is just for questions. I mean, these questions are for reflections. No answers are required. Okay. Have I done anything so that the student can remember my name as the most favorite teacher when he becomes older, so that he will just repeat my name and remember some memories? எப்பவுமே நான் கிளாஸ்ல வந்து உனக்கு தெரியாதுன்னு சொல்லி கொடுத்தேன். இல்ல கிளாஸ் ரூம்ன்றது வந்து பாடம் கற்றுக்கிறதுக்காக வர ஸ்பேஸ் நான் பார்ப்பேன். How do I approach my students? Whether I approach my students as learners who come to the classroom to learn something, or am I continuously banishing them or scolding them? இது கூட உனக்கு தெரியா? தெரியாதவங்க கிளாஸ் போறாங்க. தெரிஞ்சதுதான். Okay. So So these are some of the words which can actually often simply react to a child's psychology. Okay. Probably we are dealing with some other children. Okay. Even the adults have some fringe child psychology in their mind. So they will be offended to hear in front of others that you don't know this. நமக்கு இவ்வளவு தெரியாம இருக்கியா இந்த வார்த்தை இதுதான் வந்துச்சுன்னா all these words can actually hurt students in a lot of ways. Okay. நம்ம மாதிரி ஏதாவது சொல்லியிருக்கோமா இப்போ யார் கைது பண்ணலாம் நீங்களே மனசுல நினைச்சீங்க இந்த மாதிரி யாராவது நம்ம கிளாஸ் தான் பண்ணிக்கலாம். Okay. This is just for reflection. So our students should not remember us as the worst teacher. Right? Worst teacher ne நான் பேர் வாங்கியே கூடாது அப்படி எல்லாருமே மனசுல இருக்கும்ல. So what are we doing to become the favorite? What are the steps that we take in every day? See, I am not very good at the subject that I teach. I know that person, but I am not exchange that with my neighbor. Maybe he is a good friend of you, or he is a good friend of you. But you are afraid to say that I am not good at the subject because it's a working atmosphere where everybody is considered equals. Like we may not usually share that I am not good in teaching this particular subject. We may also have a large amount of ego accumulated in our mind because of working in this atmosphere, working in these institutions. Not only your institution, every institution has this. Even our own college has this. So our attempt is now to take a fellow teacher to be considered as a colleague, a friend. To him or her, you can actually exchange the idea free, like just a friend. Okay, with your friend, how do you speak? You speak to your friend free. Okay, you don't have any inhibitions. Then நான் சொன்னா என் ஃப்ரெண்ட் வந்து என் தப்பா நினைப்பாங்க அப்படின்னு நினைக்கிறது இல்லை. அதனால வாக்கியம் என்ன சொல்ல முடியாது. But still, you can actually be friendly to your colleague. Okay, in exchanging ideas. Okay, இது எப்படி டீச் பண்ணா நல்லா இருக்கும். இது வந்து இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு டூல் யூஸ் பண்ணா நல்லா இருக்கும். ஆனா எக்ஸ்சேஞ்ச் சம்திங் or you have a colleague or HOD or someone else is treating me well. All these are some of the questions that I don't need any answers, but we will reflect on. So who are our students? Our students are falling in three different categories. Probably some of you who are born here are called as Generation X. You are born in the your date of birth, year of birth is between 1965 to 1980. 1965 to 1980. I'm not. So only two senior professors are there. Three. You are all Generation X. Okay. So education psychology tells us something details about Generation X. Some of them may be false. Okay. But these are the details about you three. You have a very good work-life balance. Work life complex பண்ணிட்டே பண்ணீங்க. வீட்டில் இருக்கிற வேலையை வீட்டை கரெக்டாக முடிச்சிட்டீங்க. ஆஃபீஸில் இருக்கிறத ஆஃபீஸில் பண்ணுங்க. இங்கே இருக்கிற வேலையை அங்கே போய் செய்ய மாட்டீங்க. அங்கே இருக்கிற வேலையை இங்கே செய்ய மாட்டீங்க. These are some of the psychological interpretations of Generation X. Okay. So then you often send the text messages, okay, or emails. You will have a personal computer. Some of them may be finding it difficult to adapt to computers. So we don't have students from this particular age because most of them are teachers. We have 3 or 4 teachers here. So who are our students? Maybe most of you are Generation Y, including I'm also Generation Y. Okay, most of you are Generation Y. So what are the characteristics? See, you think about the freedom and flexibility. Okay, so you always think about freedom. You always think about flexibility. எதுக்கு மாதிரி ரூல்ஸ் தான் வச்சிருக்காங்க கொஞ்சம் ஃபிளெக்சிபிளா இருக்காங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லி you always think about that. That is Generation Y. Okay, so you are always online and you use a mobile phone and you are digital entrepreneurs. Some of you might be having some online marketing channels. You may be running some YouTube channels. Okay, you are very familiar with technology and you also use tablets, smartphones, and other gadgets. Okay, all these things were not there when we were born, but we got adapted to it. This is our life. You know, we நம்ம படிச்சு வாய்ப்பு. Okay. Then who are our students? Our students are actually Gen Z. Okay. Some Gen Zs are here. Okay, very good. Okay, glad to hear that Gen Zs are here. So what are the common features of Gen Z? So Gen Zs will be feeling security, stability. They will be seeking stability. They use space time. Okay, you are older people. You use space. They use space time. So they are multitaskers. They can do multiple tasks at the same time. They'll be chatting with the 3 or 4 friends at the same time. Okay, taking responses to 3 or 4 friends. At the same time of completing one assignment using a ChatGPT. At the same time of responding to your mother or father. At the same time of writing something else. 3 or 4 tasks simultaneously. So we are dealing with who? Gen Z. So our students, whether we are from generation X, Y, Z, doesn't matter. Okay. But our students are mainly from which area? Gen Z. So you said many names, right? The teachers, my favorite teachers are something like that. And the teachers now, probably Gen X or another. அவங்க யூஸ் அவங்களுடைய சில மெத்தட்ஸ் வந்து உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருக்கு. அவங்க சில அப்ரோச் பிடிச்சிருக்கு. But can we use the same approach to Gen Z? Not work. It will never work. See, a carpenter who is working 20 years back never know what the chains are. You only use the rubber. That's what happens. But the chains are individual things. So we need to equip ourselves with some new tools. Constantly we need to equip ourselves because the world is fast changing and we are dealing with Gen Z who are in knowledge wise, technology wise, superior than you. I use the word knowledge wise. Is it true? Yes, it is true because they always seek answers when you are reading a topic on the classroom. They will just Google and see whether you are talking right or this argument is right or wrong. They will immediately see. They will verify everything. So we need to keep in pace with that. We need to be very informed about how to engage them. That is most important. That is what we are trying to do in this class, in this session. We may use some tools. Okay. Mentimeter. Okay. So probably I introduce background. Similar tool. We will all create a quiz and we try to use that background. How to use that background tool in the class. We see that. See all these new tools that are emerging in the classroom comes under a new classification of teaching method. Now, world level teaching method changes now. There are some journals which are exclusively publishing teaching tools, teaching methods. They do research in that and they publish. So I'll tell you a simple example. Since I'm from chemistry department, I can say this. Okay. So if you are actually teaching bonding, chemical bonding, there are different fields. So there are some tools available with which I can actually show them how the bonds are actually using three-dimensional space. This they can actually visually see. Another part. In both available 2 dimensions. Okay, they can actually see the rotating the molecules and the thermal movement. Okay, so this is an array tool. There is one tool called the PFOX tool. That tool can actually do a number of it is actually your mobile phone is connected with number of sensors. Namake there are sensors. So this is one key. Maybe I'll tell you the name. You can just download it. You can use it in your mobile phone because your mobile phone is connected with a lot of sensors. You can use your mobile phone to check how much light is present in this room. You can calculate G, that is gravitation due to, acceleration due to gravity in various places. Exact value 2 decimal points. It's your mobile phone. You can actually create a sonar signal using your mobile phone. You can read sound using your mobile phone. Okay. So all this can be done by the physics students using this one single app called PFOX. PFOX. Free tool developed by the university. Okay, like this, many people are developing free tools. 22 free tools are there. Only thing that we need to know is we need to be aware of. language development, there are many, there should be some Tamil department here, right? Okay, they are digitalizing a lot of tools, okay, digital format and if at all there is a biochemistry department, a lot of developments are happening in the field of biochemistry. Where the department, okay, computer science department, okay. So we have a lot of developments coming out in the app development using AI. You can develop a number of apps with the help of AI. நம்ம இருக்கிற ஒரு டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் நிறைய டெவலப்மெண்ட்ஸ் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு. only thing that we need to know is we need to be aware. So where to search, where to find out the answers. So this is further interpretation of Gen Z. You know that maybe these are generalizations. So you cannot apply, interpret every word and sentences here. So Gen Z usually they prefer mobility. They are not staying on place. They prefer to move around. Okay. So they are actually good in social networking, and they will be digital natives. The digital natives, they have multiple accounts on Instagram, okay, Snapchat, okay. Too many things they will be using, and they are not as digital natives. One native get as from Indian, I'm a native of Indian, I'm Indian, India. But after this, this might follow apps as well. That is one characteristic of Gen Z, and they usually prefer to keep their name anonymous. They don't want to reveal their names. So most of the IDs that they create are fake names. They will not be their names. Okay, so fake names. Then they are called as communicolic. Communicolic means they always try to communicate with others. Okay, they don't remain silent. They communicate, but they don't speak. They text off. Okay. And they are dialoguers. They speak nicely and realistic. They will be very realistic. They will not have large demands, large goals. Okay, they are very realistic goals, and they are unique. They are unlimited, and most of them are ethical. Ethical means they don't want to harm the earth. Okay, they don't want to pollute the earth. They have their own ethics. Whereas Gen Y and Gen X has different goals, but they are very particular on ethical aspects. So these are also rules. Class face on the students today, or psychological profile. So in the aspect of the current students, we need to see that. Okay. So what are the teaching styles that we use? Teaching styles, in a number of classes. Now there is style also. Another tool. Speaking lecture method. Okay, lecture method is common method anybody can use. Okay. Any other method that we can use? PowerPoint presentation we can do. Okay. Any other method is available? Start and talk. This again lecture method available. Any other method? Hands-on practicals we can do. Okay. But if it is science subject, you take them to lab, you do chemical reaction and show them. You perform a physics apparently you use a physics instrument and you measure something and show that this is the reading, this is the value. Like that, you can think of computer science, you write a program and see the output. Okay, so practicals is one aspect. Then there is you do experiments and you explain. Okay. So out of this, which one is better? You are going to see that. So we see all the teaching styles. So one teaching style is authority or lecture style. This is teacher-centered and the frequent, lengthy lectures and one-day presentations. Okay. So when a teacher comes to the classroom and when the bell rings, when last. One 1:30 when there is one punctual available, class 2:30 வரைக்கும் நாம் தப்பா நான் பேசிட்டு முடிச்சு ராப் பேசி வெளிய வந்தா சொன்னா டெஸ்ட் லெக்சர் ஓகே பசங்களுக்கு So when you do that method, see there is one problem. See the problem. See there is nothing wrong in lecturing. Okay. But the purpose of education has now completely changed. Okay. We don't call this as teaching, but rather we now call it as learning. And there are two different words. Even if you just look at the recent education documents, you never come across this word teaching. It is completely turned, they have shifted this word into learning. What is the difference between teaching and learning? So now we are teaching. Other one teaching. One of the basic, that is actually teaching. Okay, which is nowadays outdated. Okay, nobody uses that. Okay. So in teaching, what are the problems? You look at the students sitting here. Are they attending? Are they listening? What is going on in their mind? Okay, something else. Okay, but at no point the attention will come to the lecture that you are delivering. Okay, there is some serious problem. There is a serious problem. So how to actually change this? And I am not saying that every lecture class should be changed as something new. Okay, at least we can try to use some of the lecture classes into a innovative class. That can be our least of it. Right? Now, the class I can just think of one or two classes because this is experimentation. Okay, because these are some of the new things that are coming up in physical education that has already been established in foreign countries, but now we are adopting that very easily. So how am I going to deal with the problem of lecturing? There is one more problem with this particular aspect. That is the Gen X or the older generations. They had authoritative way of dealing with the class. Authoritative means I am the authority. You answer. Okay. Just like police station, you have a SI. So everyone who comes inside, all others are subordinates. So they salute. So there is order, right? These people will never obey that order. Gen Z, they don't like that. Okay, they like to be very flexible. Okay, they like to be normal. They like to be friendly. Okay, they don't like authoritative way of teaching. Okay. So there is a saying that whenever a teacher is inside the classroom, there is an imaginary crown that is sitting on the head. The teacher style of leaders. And the leader ஒரு நாள் தெரிஞ்சு அக்செப்ட் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. வருஷம் கூட leader. இப்போ நீங்க leader உள்ள போனீங்கன்னா ஒரு வார்த்தை எல்லாம் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க? மனசுல சிரிச்சுப்பாங்க. வெளியே சொல்லுவாங்க. நீங்க போன So we need to actually dethrone ourselves. We need to put this crown down and come to their level. Okay, I'm not saying that you need to come to their level. Just lift them up to your level so that the learning process is so smooth. That's what we are supposed to do in the classrooms, to create an engaged class. So this method is outdated method. We are not going to follow that in all our classes, but at least we can try something. So what is the new thing that we can actually try a demonstrator or full state method in which you can actually show some knowledge that includes activities, demonstrations. In the language courses. English, and the language parts. You teach a lot of literature, right? Okay, all the literature, these teachers. Okay, so you tell me any one literature that
Post-colonial literature, sir. So I love literature. So most of the research paper, research period in this research paper, post-colonial, like Australian and Canadian, whatever, sir. I very like to research that paper.
any classic literature that you like?
Bachelor of Arts.
Bachelor of Arts. So R.K. Narayan's Bachelor of Arts. I also read that long back. Okay. So R.K. Narayan's this character, there is one character called a person who will often go and buy a banana. Okay. And he will spend a lot of time in front of the small shop. Okay. What is his character's name? Chandran. Chandran is one character. The ARCOT is one literature writer who is awarded, who is nominated Nobel Prize once. Okay, ARCOT by one of his friends. Okay, who happens to be in UK. He was nominated for Nobel Literature Award. India will Nobel Prize from the you know that, right? Okay, that's the Raman. Okay, but there are many names which are there. One of the names is in literature is ARCOT. Okay. So, have you ever thought of a role play in the classroom? Role play incident. You can ask a student to read the summary of the Chandran's character and ask him to behave like Chandran in the classroom. Or he will be, he will be looking at a girl, right? So, that will be female character. So, you can actually ask the student to actually, one student may be doing the male role, another student may be doing the female role. So this is called as a role play. The role play நம்ம literature பண்றோம். நம்ம literature நிறைய ஸ்கோப் இருக்கு. சிலர் யாரோ ஒரு ஸ்டூடண்ட கோவனா, இன்னொரு ஸ்டூடண்ட கம்மியாகும், இன்னொரு ஸ்டூடண்ட மாதிரியா ரோல் பிளே பண்ண சொல்லலாமா? அது எவ்வளவு கரெக்டா? இல்ல பிசிக்ஸ்ல ஆல்பர்ட் ஐன்ஸ்டீனோட E=mc² டீச் பண்ணும்போது நம்ம வந்து ஒரு ரோல் பிளே கொடுத்து E=mc², தெர்மோடைனமிக்ஸ்ல அவர் வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பேப்பர் பிரசன்ட் பண்றாரு 1995ல. He's getting he's awarded a Nobel Prize. Okay, he asked one of the students to read the Nobel lecture and come to the classroom and deliver the Nobel lecture of Albert Einstein, thinking of himself or herself as Albert Einstein. Role play. Okay. So there are many things that we can do innovatively. So one aspect of that is demonstrative role or coach style role, in which the students will actually start the process of learning. Teaching is over. Nobody wants to be a teacher now. The new term that substitutes the teacher is facilitator. Teachers become a facilitator now. So we facilitate the students to learn by themselves. நீங்க ஒரு விஷயத்தை அடிக்கடி சொல்லி கொடுக்கிறத விட அவங்களே கற்றுக்கிறது ஒரு நல்ல விஷயம். That is what the teacher's role has now become. Okay. So you show some knowledge, you include some activities, you ask them, I'm going to do some activities now. Okay, just usually time working with themselves. And non-slide, one begin that. Okay, so this is a demonstrator or post-style method, new approach. You can try that in any subject. You can have English, it is applicable to knowledge. I mean, language is equally applicable to sciences. It is equally applicable to many other topics that we can think of. Then teacher is a facilitator now. You can think of activities to promote self-learning process, self-actualization process, and critical thinking skills. I teach what is an acid. An acid is a substance that gives H+. நான் சொல்றேன், சொல்லி கொடுக்குறேன், பையன் கற்றுக்கிறான், அதே ரிப்பீட் பண்றான் டெஸ்ட்ல. என்னது? What is an acid கேட்டா any substance that gives H+ an acid. Correct? H போட்டு மார்க்னா போட்டாச்சு. வீட்டில் எரிஞ்சு போறாங்க. வீட்டில் எரிஞ்சு போறதுல அந்த எரிஞ்சு போடுறது ஆசிட் தான் இருக்கு. நமக்கு தெரியுமா தெரியாது. இப்போ டீச்சிங் லேர்னிங் எஜுகேஷன். You will learn all the things in the classroom. You become a PhD, not even knowing about the element which is acid in your kitchen. Is that learning? Okay, you have to connect to things around you. So the purpose of education is not about rote learning, marking up a lot of things. The purpose of learning is fully satisfied when you are able to visualize the concepts that you study around you. When a student of biology is studying about nitrogen cycle, when he looks at the lightning that is happening, he or she should think that nitrogen oxide will produce so that the things can go better. So the nitrogen present in the atmosphere, which is an inert molecule, reacts with oxygen to produce nitrates. Nitrates are good for growth of plants. We cannot control because now the world is hospital. No teaching, only learning. Right? This is another style. That is a delegated role, a group style. This is best for lab activity. Okay. So those are subjects which has lab. Even languages do have labs. Language labs are available in many places. If there is a scope, you can also develop a language lab. English language lab, probably you know, right? So what is that in English language lab? They will be having a lot of devices, communication devices. There will be a recorder. Okay, people will be asked to speak, and they will be asked to play it again, hear it, whether they pronounce the words correctly. Okay, and they are using some screens where they can actually watch movies. Okay, so like that, a language lab can also be developed. Language lab development, nice movie. Languages can also contribute immensely. Okay, so a lab activity is one activity which actually tells us a lot of potential of the students. Some of the students who score very good marks in theory may be failing miserably in practice. Okay, because a student who you think that is not a good student, who is usually a mischief, that's why percent of the student in Nigeria. That is a certain number. Okay, observe me. Okay, I am observe me. எப்படி அந்த பள்ளி நான் see that student who is not good at theory is a very good student at experiments. Okay. So there are two things. One is theory, the other one is experiment in fields like physics, chemistry, everywhere you can find in science. So some students will not be good in other things. Okay, but they will be very good in experiments. So they can actually learn experiments very quickly. So this method actually works very well in their case. The last one is hybrid method or blended method, okay, where you actually create some materials already, okay, post them online like Google Classroom. You can create a Google Classroom, free of cost. You can upload materials. You can ask your students to enroll in the classroom. Gmail method தான். நீங்க கிளாஸ்ல வந்து உங்க கிளாஸ்ல 30 students 40 students இருக்காங்க. You can ask them to enroll when you actually begin a course. For example, if you are teaching colonial literature course, you can create a Google Classroom. Before the beginning of the course, you can create this classroom. And you can post some materials there, where the students can actually study these materials, not in the classroom, but at home or some other time. Okay, when you come to the class, you don't discuss the concepts, but rather you just go beyond that. You ask them to do a role play, or you just do some activities. So it's not about covering the syllabus. It's about initiating the process of learning. So what are we going to do then? Okay. So before going into this, I think with this we will do some activity. You are all going to stand now. Okay. So you can keep your notebooks away. Okay. Feel free. So what I will do is I will just be here. You are going to walk around and meet one person who you never met and spoke in the college. இந்த வரைக்கும் நீங்க யாரை பார்க்கலையோ யாரை நீங்க பேசலையோ அவங்க நீங்க மீட் பண்ண போறீங்க, அவங்க பேச போறீங்க. நீங்க என்ன பேச போறீங்க? You introduce yourself and what is the present topic that you are teaching, and is there any possibility to establish a collaboration? Physics and chemistry have nice collaboration. Physics and computer science can have a collaboration. Computer science and chemistry can have a collaboration. Even chemistry and Tamil or chemistry and English can also have collaboration. Possibilities are there, but I'm not going to tell you what possibilities. You just meet, introduce, see, you can just walk out. Okay. Keep walking till I say stop. Meaning you can just keep you can walk freely. The chair not like that. The one clear the gate, you can't go on. The classroom, the hall is very not going on. All ready to go on. This is a complete you are not going to speak to a person who is very familiar, but meet a person who is not familiar to you. Talk to her. Try to establish a collaboration. Okay, you stop now. Okay, I will come to your case. You choose only one partner. Okay, choose only one partner. Okay. If you have not done that, you choose any one partner who should not be known to you, who should not be on the same department. பக்கத்துல ஒரு டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் போறது. Okay, same department போறது. ரெண்டு பேருமே நான் அந்த பேஸ் வரேன். உங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் நான் ஒரு பேச முடியும். Okay. Okay, finish. You can also sit and talk. Bukan lu besok. Jangan lu besok. Okay, now we have two people here. Okay, I hope they are ready to see engaging their ideas. Okay, so we will share about them. நீங்க என்ன பேசுனா அது ரெடி பண்ணுங்க. ஓகே. இது ஒரு பிராக்டிஸ் பண்ணீங்கல. ஒரு பிராக்டிஸ் பண்ணீங்கல. அவங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் மட்டும் பக்கத்துல உட்காருங்க. அப்படியே வந்து பேச சொல்லுங்க. உங்க பேச நீங்க ஒருத்தல உட்கார்ந்து பேசுறது எல்லாம் மாறிடும். ரைட். இப்போ நீங்க யார் நியூ பார்ட்னர் சொல்றீங்களோ அந்த பார்ட்னரோட நீங்க வரணும். ஓகே. இது மீன்ஸ்ல அதெல்லாம் மாறிடுச்சு. நோ ப்ராப்ளம். கமெண்ட் So break time is over now. Please come and sit. Sit around. Okay, you can sit down. Okay, sitting பண்ணும்போது ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Okay, அதனால சீட்டிங் யார் பண்ண மாட்டீங்க. எல்லாரும் டீச்சர், understand? Okay. So now the rules of the game is like this. Okay, I understand that you are enthusiastic now. Okay, so please come and sit. See, I am going to give the mic to you. Okay, so what I am going to say is, you are going to introduce the other person. Okay, இதற்கு யாரை பார்க்கலையோ யாரும் பேசலையோ அவங்களுக்கு இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க. இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் பண்ணிட்டு அவங்களுடைய அவங்க டீச் பண்ணக்கூடிய சப்ஜெக்ட் எந்த விஷயத்துல நீங்க அவங்களோட கோஆர்டினேட் பண்ணலாம் நீங்க ஏதாவது பேசிருக்கீங்கல்ல பேசல. ஓகே, இது பேசலாம் பரவாயில்ல. ஓகே, அப்படி பேசிருக்கீங்கன்னா அதுக்கு சேர்த்து அடிஷனல் சார்ஜ். ஓகே, this actually is called as ice breaking method. Okay, ice breaking method is நம்ம ஒரு எக்ஸர்சைஸ் பண்ண மாதிரி இருக்கும் உட்கார்ந்துக்கோங்க. அது பிரேக் பண்றோம். Okay, this ice breaking. Okay, so ice breakingல நான் மைக் கூட கொடுக்குறேன். நீங்க என்ன பண்ண போறீங்கன்னா நீங்க பக்கத்துல உட்கார்ந்துக்கங்க. அவங்க பத்தி சொல்ல போறீங்க. In case நீங்க சப்ஜெக்ட் கிட்ட டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா அது சொல்லணும். It's not necessary. Okay, if you have discussed something that you have discussed that you have some chemistry and physics இல்ல நான் computer science இது வந்து நான் வந்து chemistry நான் computation chemistry சம்பந்தமா பேசணும் அதெல்லாம் எனக்கு ஸ்கோப் இருக்கு. பட் அது நீங்க பண்ணலாம் பரவாயில்ல. Okay, you can do it because நீங்க தான் doing. Okay, I'm not really of this lecture, but you are going to be here, right? So you can discuss, right? You can find time, right? So I read the mic to you now.
Sir, her name is Lisa. She is from India.
The others please pay attention. See how எவ்வளவு நல்லா இன்ட்ரோ듀ce பண்றான்னு பாப்போம். Go ahead.
And she is very much interested in post-colonial. And she is very friendly staff. And she is a Pooja Street from microbiology department, sir. And now only I close to her and I met every day. Okay.
Yes, comfortable.
I met every day in the microbiology department because of I went to the general English. So 3 persons are roaming in the corridor. One is Pooja Sri, another one is Shabana. So that is another one. Achino. Okay, so looks like our friends, and I understood that, and because I love that project. Okay, thank you.
You are not addressing me, you are addressing the role.
I met Selvaji just now. She is from MBA department. She is teaching MBA. And she did psychology also. Now she also going to discuss MSc in psychology in future.
You can.
Good afternoon, Ma'am, I was in the department of physics. Now only I know that. Ma'am told me that the department is having the program tomorrow. So ma'am, students are actually interested in that. And she is very first for PhD holders, first PhD. So that I will explain that. Thank you.
So good afternoon, ma'am. So I meet Ms. Mankotia ma'am. So she is coming from English department. So she completed MCPC until at Uttaram Government Arts College. And what is so that's it. Thank you. So, my name is Sandhya. Today is the first day I met her. She belongs to physics department. She did her PhD at VAT, and we just talked about just like that. And we also need to know that we did our efforts at the same batch, but in a different department. Even though we met as alumni, I wouldn't interact that much.
A very good afternoon to all the staff. I did actually I know not in the sense of just discuss very generally only. So Sikala from this department. She is very much interested in doing that research, and also she is concentrating more on quantum mechanics. And she is a very kind and loving person. So I like her very much. Thank you.
Actually, boys are already not very from English department. Actually, particular related to me, that of the same is very always writing.
So any other person want to unmute himself. So we are not going to do that. Okay, it's just I say. So anybody else is interested to introduce your partner, you can just raise your hands. Okay, we can at least have a three or four introductions. Then we can go back to the other working. I have one working. We can distribute it. So I'm going to answer that. Okay. So who wants to introduce your neighbor? Who is very much enthusiastic to introduce your neighbor? Nika first time father neighbor. You guys will ask me. Where are you coming? You are raising your hand. Everybody is here. So maybe I will just link to one or two. Okay, there is a friend there.
I will JST, I from State Department.
நான் இன்னைக்கு தான் பார்த்தேன், இதுக்கு முன்னாடி பார்க்கல. ஏன்னா எனக்கு இந்த செமஸ்டர் ஜாயின் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, ஒரு செமஸ்டரே முடிஞ்சிருச்சு, நான் இப்போ தான் பார்க்குறேன். இவங்க எம்எஸ்சி முடிச்சிருக்காங்க, எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் முடிச்சிருக்காங்க, அந்த காட்பாடி வந்து வராங்க. எனக்கு தெரியும், இதுக்கப்புறம் ஃபாலோ பண்ணிடுவோம்.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. Name வந்து டாக்டர் ராமு. நான் வந்து தமிழ் டிபார்ட்மெண்ட். She completed 21 years of teaching, sir. She's from Balaja. She completed her UG in Balaja. She completed her MPhil and PhD in Chennai. Thank you.
Any senior junior combination, I would like to ask. Yes, sir. Seniors for that point. Juniors for that point. Any senior junior combination, yeah.
She is Priyanka, sir. Belongs to Commerce Department. Meet that program. Then you will join at least 6 months later. They will take the cost accounting. Again, started to get it again. Future that is in
Good afternoon to all. If I am very safe, I did the first time placer, ma'am, with my team, Max department, 22 years of experience. To be frank, school days, one of my favorite subjects is Max. If a Max teacher could have put some lesson, or life experience. Thank you.
Anyone else wants to introduce? Okay. So that is now minor this space breaking. Okay. Now we are going to answer some questions. Okay. And you are going to the self-analysis. This will take you next to your blueprint now. Okay, no problem. So you are going to do it yourself. You are not going to look at paper whether they are scoring marks or not. Okay, you are just going to look at your paper. There are some 7 questions. You are going to look at those questions and answer them for yourself. Okay. Nobody is going to get those sheets from you. This is for you. You can keep it. Right? Okay, you are searching for your first to take a print, right? Self-reflective activity. Self-reflective means you are reflecting about yourself. See, the first question goes like this. I feel enthusiastic about teaching and look forward to my classes. Teaching is enjoyable, exciting, and motivating for me. The time I am in the class important I'm a teacher that you open the students answer. Okay. The class important you படிச்சிருக்கலாமோ கொஞ்சம் ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணிருக்கலாமோ அப்படிங்கிற பதட்டமான சிலர் இருக்குல்ல சுத்தமா டைம் இல்லை அப்படின்னு சொல்லி சில பதட்டம் இல்லை அந்த மாதிரி பதட்டமே எனக்கு கிடையாது. But I enjoy teaching and look forward to my class. எப்போ நம்ம கிளாஸ் வரும், நான் எப்போ கிளாஸ் போவேன். சில ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் நினைப்பாங்க, எப்படி நினைப்பாங்க, இந்த டீச்சர் வந்து எப்போ கிளாஸ் போவாங்க. They will be eagerly waiting for that. See, my daughter is actually studying 8th standard, elder one. She has a very good English teacher. She likes her English teacher very much. She is very friendly. Okay. So she will always look for when the English ma'am will come to her class. She அவங்க டைட்டில் அவங்க மாத்திரமா இருக்க இல்லையோ she knows. மண்டே அன்னைக்கு இந்த செகண்ட் ஹவர் வருவாங்க, இந்த ஃபிஃப்த் ஹவர் வருவாங்க. ஓகே, she மாத்திரம் பண்ண மாதிரி she is telling. ஓகே, இந்த கிளாஸ் தான் அவங்க வருவாங்க. ஓகே, ஸோ லைக் தட் நாம வந்து அந்த அளவுக்கு ஈஸியா கிளாஸ் போறோம். போனோம்னா டிக் போடுங்க. டிக் போட்டா 1 மார்க். டிக் போடலன்னா 0 மார்க். ஓகே. அடுத்து இது ஒன்றும் நீங்களே படிச்சு ஆன்சர் பண்ணலாம். ஓகே, I'm just reading it aloud. My students recognize and respond to my enthusiasm in feedback, classroom energy. Classroom வாத்தியார் நல்ல எனர்ஜிட்டிக்கா இருப்பாங்க. ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் நம்ம சாப்பிட்டு இருக்கோம். எனக்கு அந்த எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் இருக்கு. I will tell you frankly, I was working in engineering college for 3 years. The job which I hated mostly, okay, because I want to switch over to some arts and science college. Because there is no scope for teaching in engineering course because they just study physics or chemistry for 1 year and they just move, right? So nobody considers physics and chemistry very seriously. So whenever it is not considered very seriously, I don't want to be a part of it. Okay, so I want to move away. So in that college, they give food for everyone. Students will also come and eat. So they provide lunch at 11 o'clock. The morning breakfast time is 7:45. So at 11 o'clock, everybody will go and eat chicken biryani, full chicken biryani, okay, with all the fried chicken and other things. So stomach full they will come because they will gain weight, right? They will be very hungry. Okay, that's not possible case. But when you go inside the class at 11:45, after the lunch break is over, they will dose you. Okay, so your energy will be very high. See, I feel very much enthusiastic to go inside the classroom. But my energy is not meeting with their energy. Okay, I need a different energy level, they are a different energy level, and I don't know how to connect with them. அந்த மாதிரி ப்ராப்ளம் நம்ம பேஸ் பண்ணா டிக் போடுவாங்க, பேஸ் பண்ணலன்னா டிக் போடுவாங்க. சரி, மாதிரி பிரச்சனை இல்லை. அதாவது எந்தூசியாசமா அவங்க ஃபீல் பண்ணாங்கன்னா நீங்க டிக் போடலாம். இல்லை எந்தூசியாசமா அவங்க ஃபீல் பண்ணல, ஃபீட்பேக் கொடுத்தேன் இல்லை அப்படின்னா நீங்க வந்து டிக் போட வேண்டாம். Next, I actively continue learning through research, reading, attending programs, means conferences, seminars, workshops, and constantly updating myself. Learning from students. I also learn from students. See, when I am teaching a problem in chemistry, suddenly one student asks me, "Sir, why don't you do this integral at this particular step? You don't do the integration at this particular step, but do some mathematical rearrangements, and then you do this particular step, the problem becomes very simple. Why don't you do like that?" The student asks me. So at that moment, I am learning. I can alternatively do solve the same problem. So I am learning from who? Students. There are scope for learning from the students also. Okay. அதான் சொன்னால நீங்க வந்து என்ன எடுத்து வெளியே வச்சுட்டு இருந்துச்சுன்னா எடுத்து க்ரௌண்ட் இருந்துச்சுன்னா கிளாஸ் வெளியே வச்சுட்டு உள்ள போயிருக்கேன். So that smooth exchange of knowledge will be happening in the class, right? So if that is happening, you put tick mark, otherwise no tick. Then my students witness me as a learner. Okay. Students are witnessing you as a learner. டீச்சர் நிறைய படிக்கிறாங்க, ஸ்டாஃப்ல வந்து இது வாசிச்சே இருக்காங்க, இங்க போன சப்ஜெக்ட் எடுத்து பேசிட்டு இருக்காங்க, கிளாஸ் ஸ்டாஃப்ல பேசிட்டு இருக்காங்க. So they see you as a learner. Okay, they don't see you as someone who is studying something else. You can chat, no problem. Everybody can do. But we have a perception about everyone. இவங்க வந்து கொஞ்சம் கம்மியா ஆகுது, இவங்க வந்து கொஞ்சம் விளையாட்டுமா இருக்கும். இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய பர்செப்ஷன்ஸ் இருக்கு. எப்படின்னா பர்செப்ஷன்ஸ் இருக்கும், எப்படின்னா நம்ம இருக்கலாம். ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் உள்ள லேர்னரா யூ ஆர் ஆல்சோ லேர்னிங். நம்ம பழக்கம் என்ன ஒரு தாட் இருக்கும், as teachers we think that our education is over. We receive a PhD, my education is over. போன வாரம் நான் ஒரு 50 days எப்படி கேட்டேன், டெஸ்ட் எழுதுனேன். நாம நிறைய பேர் இருந்தாங்க, 5 பேர் இருந்தாங்க, நாம எழுதுனேன். ஓகே, சோ அதான் நம்ம டீச்சர்ஸ் வந்து படிக்கணுமா, டீச்சர்ஸ் படிக்கணுமா, கண்டிப்பா படிக்கணும். ஓகே, இல்ல சார் நான் வந்து இலக்கியமா போய் படிச்சு முடிச்சேன், புதுசா படிச்சு ஒண்ணுமே இல்ல, அதே செல்படி ஆளுடைய கதையை இன்ஸ்பயர் பண்ணி கண்ணகி வச்சு இப்போ போன ஒரு 2 மாசத்துக்கு முன்னால பிரளயன்னு ஒரு தியேட்டர் ஆர்டிஸ்ட் ஒரு நாடகம் கொடுத்தாரு. நாடகம் தெரியுமா, ஒரு ஸ்கிரீன் பிளே வந்துருக்கு, நான் படிச்சிருக்கேன் தமிழ்ல. 2 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னால நோபல் பிரைஸ் லிட்ரேச்சர் வாங்க, இங்கிலீஷ் லிட்ரேச்சர் வாங்க ஒருத்தர் வந்து ஒரு 300-400 பேஜ் புக் வந்து ஒரே சென்டென்ஸ் எழுதியிருக்காரு. நோபல் பிரைஸ் எனக்கு தெரியுமா. ஒரு இங்கிலீஷ் இந்த இங்கிலீஷ் லிட்டரேச்சர்ல he has written without a full stop one sentence starting one sentence அப்படியே ஃபுல்லா 4 பக்கம் எழுதிருக்காரு. அதுதான் அவங்க பேசிட்டாங்க இங்கிலீஷ் லிட்டரேச்சர் 2 years back. எனக்கு தெரியுமா? அதுதான் லேர்னிங் ப்ராசஸ். அதெல்லாம் நம்ம செய்யறோம்னா நம்ம டீக் போடலாம். இதை நான் செய்யல சொன்னா நோட்டிங் பரவாயில்ல, நோட்டிங் போட்டா ஒன்றும் கிடையாது. ஏன்னா இது நீங்க தான் வச்சுருக்கீங்க. செல்ஃப் அனாலிசிஸ் நோட்டிங் எதுக்காக போடாம வைக்கணும்னு சொன்னா இதுக்கப்புறம் நான் இதெல்லாம் செய்யணும். நீங்க எதுக்கெல்லாம் செய்ய ஆரம்பிக்கணும் அன்னைக்கு போட்டு இதே ரெஃபரல் அதில் also நீங்க ஸ்டாப் பண்ணணும். ஓகே ஸோ தென் இந்த பேப்பர் வந்து யூஸ் ஸ்டாப் பண்ணி பார்க்கணும். தென் I am deeply engaged in my work and share my interest with others instead of working in isolation. நான் புதுசா ஒரு கான்ஃபரன்ஸ் பத்தி தெரிஞ்சுட்டு உடனே அந்த பேப்பரை கவர் பண்ணி கீழே வச்சு யாருக்கு இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு காரணமா இருக்குன்னா இல்ல வாங்க 2-3 பேர் நாம எழுதுவோம். ஓகே ஸோ எல்லாருக்கும் நான் ஷேர் பண்ணுவேன். ஏன்னா நீங்க ஷேர் பண்ணா ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் அந்த மென்டாலிட்டி இருப்பாங்க. யாரும் ஏன் பண்றதா சொல்லுங்க செல்ஃப் அனாலிசிஸ்க்காக நாம நமக்கு தெரிஞ்ச விஷயங்களை நம்ம வந்து ஷேர் பண்ணலாம். இல்ல எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சது ஷேர் பண்ணிட்டா என்ன வர ஒரு ஸ்டெப் அவங்க மேல போயிடுவாங்க அப்படின்ற ஒரே காரணத்துக்காக சீக்கிரட்டா இருக்கு எல்லாத்தையும் நம்ம ஷேர் பண்ணி சொல்றோம். அகாடமிக் மேட்டர்ஸை நம்ம ஷேர் பண்ணணும். அதுவும் ஒரு கொலாபரேட்டிவ் என்விரான்மெண்ட். அப்பதான் கான்செப்ட் அந்த என்விரான்மெண்ட் நமக்கு இருக்கலாம். இல்லைன்னா எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ் பண்றதுக்கு இருந்துச்சுன்னா நீங்க டீச் போடுங்க. இல்லைன்னா அப்படி அடுத்தது I try new teaching approaches and continually improve my teaching. Even if some strategies fail, I still experiment. இன்னைக்கு போய் நான் வந்து மேத்தமெட்டிக்ஸ்ல கால்குலஸ் நான் போனேன். சரி கால்குலஸ்ல கால்குலஸ் தொடர்ந்து யாரு கால்குலஸ் கான்செப்ட் யாரு ஆக்சிஸ் இருக்கீங்களா மேக்ஸிமம் இல்ல who discovered it? சரி ஓகே எம்பாரசிங் ஆனது. So Newton discovered calculus. Okay. Why Newton discovered calculus? Because some of his ideas could not be translated into words. So he discovered calculus. So calculus is Newton கண்டுபிடிச்சாரு. அப்படிங்கறத சொல்லி நான் ஆரம்பிச்சேன். அந்த அளவுக்கு இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இல்ல கிளாஸ். ஓகே. ஏன் இல்ல நான் இன்னும் மேபி Newton பத்தி நிறைய படிச்சிட்டு இருக்கேன். வாட்ஸ்அப் நான் டிராவலிங் Newton ஸ்கூலுக்கே போனது. ஒரு ஸ்கூலுக்கே போகாதனால எனக்கு அவருக்கு அறிவியல் அப்படிலாம் சொல்ல முடியாது. He is actually from a noble family. He start at home. வீட்லயே இருக்கிறது பாருங்க. ஏன் ஸ்கூல் போல அம்மா வந்து அந்த டைம்ல ராட் ஃபீவர் பரவி இருந்துச்சு. லண்டன் வந்து ராட் ஃபீவர் பரவி இருந்துச்சு. சரி பிள்ளைக்கு ராட் ஃபீவர் வந்துடும். ஆனால் நிறைய இருக்கு. வீட்டில் ஒரு டியூட்டர் வச்சு சொல்லி கொடுப்போம். வீட்டில் தான் படிக்க வச்சாங்க. இந்த கதையெல்லாம் நல்லா சுவாரஸ்யமா சொல்லி அவங்க இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்காக கிளாஸ் கொண்டு போயிருக்கீங்கன்னா ஸோ ஐ ட்ரை டு நியூ அப்ரோச்சஸ். Historical approach is one new approach. You can talk about literature, you can talk about the writers. English literature, you can talk about writers. Okay, or you can talk about if you are teaching Russian literature, why the classes English. Okay, so if you are teaching in some physics concept, you can talk about Galileo replace now. Okay, so there are numerous approaches available. C programming manufacture replace now. C programming manufacture yeah, parent government. எல்லாரும் யூஸ் பண்றது ஃப்ரீயா வச்சிருக்காங்க பேசலாம். இல்ல பயாலஜி கிளாஸ்ல வந்து ராபிஸ் இன்ஜெக்ஷனுக்கு இல்ல ஸ்மால் பாக்ஸ் இன்ஜெக்ஷனுக்கு ஏன் பேட்டன்ட் ஆகாம வச்சாங்க? இப்போ ஃப்ரீயா அவைலபிள் ஸ்மால் பாக்ஸ் டிசீஸே இல்ல எராடிகேட் பண்ணிப்பாங்க உங்களோட லைஃப் ஸ்பேன்ல. ஓகே ஏன் அவர் வந்து பேட்டன்ட் அப்போஸ் பண்ணாரு? பேட்டன்ட் வாங்கக்கூடாது. பேட்டன்ட் வாங்கிட்டா கோடீஸ்வரர் ஆயிடும். மெடிசின் ஆர்கட். ஓகே ஸோ am I inventing something new and experimenting something new in the class? We need to think about. Then finally, I care about my students' growth and want them to succeed beyond the classroom. Are you always motivating your students to excel? பரீட்சை எழுது மார்க் வாங்க ப்ராக்டிகல்ஸ் வா போதும். ஒரு கான்ஃபரன்ஸ் இன்விடேஷன் வருது. இங்கே நமக்கு IAS வீட்டில் நம்ப மாட்டாங்க. சரி நான் பேசுகிறேன் பிரான்ச்சில் ஒரு 2 பேர் போயிடுவாங்க. ஒரு வின்டர் ஸ்கூல் நடக்குது 30 நாள் ஃப்ரீ. என் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் 2 பேர் இருக்காங்க. நான் தான் இன்விடேஷன் அனுப்பிவிட்டேன். நீங்கள் அப்ளை பண்ண ப்ராஜெக்ட் டைம் பரவாயில்ல போய்க்கோ. ஏன்னா IASC is one of the topmost science institutions in India. Okay, it is running a free winter school for 30 days. Food accommodation completely free. No need to pay. இதோட பெரிய ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி என்ன நீங்க டாப்மோஸ்ட் சயின்ஸ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட் சொன்னா நீங்க கிளாஸ் உட்கார்ந்து போயிட்டு இருக்காங்க. இப்போ முதல்ல 30 days ஓடி நான் போய் ஸ்கூல்ல பேசுறேன். I sent 3 of my students. Okay, every year I'm sending. One of my students is actually completing PhD in Taiwan. And I think போகும்போது பாஸ்போர்ட் அப்ளை பண்ணுறதுக்கு he felt difficult. Ticket போடுறதுக்கு difficult. Okay, he somehow arranged with some friends. He's completing his PhD next year. Okay, போய் கிளாஸ் வெளியே கற்றுக்க வேண்டிய விஷயம் ஏற்படுது. கிளாஸ் உள்ளார கற்றுக்க வேண்டிய விஷயங்கள் கொஞ்சம் இருக்கு. ரெண்டுமே ஒன்றும் சொல்ல முடியாது. என்னைக்காவது நம்ம கிளாஸ் ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் வெளியே லிட்டரேச்சர் பண்ண மாட்டேன். பர்மிஷன் வாங்க மாட்டாங்க சொல்லியிருக்கேன். பர்மிஷன் வாங்கி நான் சொல்லிட்டு போறேன். நீங்க போய் சொல்லுங்க. நீங்க வந்து இயற்கையை பற்றி லால் மெட்ரான் பற்றி பாயிண்ட் நடத்துறீங்க. வேர்ட்ஸ் பற்றி நடத்துறீங்க. ரியல் வேர்ட்ஸ் பற்றி நடத்துறீங்க. அவர் இயற்கையை பற்றி எழுதிட்டாரு. நீங்க கிளாஸ் பார்த்து தெரியுங்க. ஒரு மாதிரி எழுதி சொல்லுங்க. சொல்லி கொடுக்காம அப்போ ரிலேட்டிவ். Okay, so teaching is not something that is happening in the classroom alone. Teaching is over. We have to begin learning now. Okay, we have to motivate our students to learn themselves. We have to become facilitators. Okay, that is how our teaching is going to transform. Okay, transfer பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? Okay, so உங்களோட ஸ்கோர் வந்து suppose you have scored 7 points out of 7. Then this is the conclusion. You are very powerful, you are passionate, you are powerfully passionate teacher. Okay. 7 out of 7 வாங்குவாங்க. Powerfully passionate teacher. ஒரு விஷயம் ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. நமக்கு மார்க் கொடுத்தாரு. நம்மளோட ரியாலிட்டி என்ன நமக்கு தெரியாது. Okay. So that is the biggest problem. So please be careful in doing a self analysis. Sometimes you should not overestimate yourself. Right? So if at all you scored 7, you are a powerfully passionate teacher, you are a role model. So நாளைக்கு உங்க பேர் எதுல வரும்? உங்களை வந்து இன்ஸ்பிரேஷனா பார்ப்பாங்க, மோட்டிவேஷனா பார்ப்பாங்க. ஓகே, அப்ப நீங்க 7 வாங்குனீங்கன்னு சொன்னா அது வந்து உங்களுக்கு ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா 6 வாங்குனீங்கன்னா you are a pridefully passionate teacher. You inspire others constantly and reflectively in nature. If you have scored 5 out of 7, you are pretty passionate. With a few intentional changes, you can actually amplify your teaching impact. Score to go. You will score on. Then finally, below 5, there is room to go. Problem is not that. Okay, problem. I'm going to problem. I'm going to give you all of this. ஒரு கேன்சர் இருக்கு தெரியாம வந்து வாழ்ந்து 4th ஸ்டேஜ் போறது too dangerous. அட்லீஸ்ட் கேன்சர் காரணம் சொன்னா ட்ரீட்மென்ட் ஆகலாம். Okay, so this is a below 5 யாரோ வாங்கிட்டீங்கன்னா consider exploring strategies, mentorship or small changes to reignite your passion. எப்படி passionate பண்ணலாம்? இதுக்கு முன்னால நான் அப்ளை பண்ணல. சரி நான் இதெல்லாம் ஓடிலாம் வாங்கி போறது நாள் இது பண்ணேன். சரி ஆன்லைன்ல சாயங்காலம் நடந்துச்சு. ஆன்லைன்ல நீங்க சாமி சார் அதெல்லாம் முடியாது. அப்படின்னு சொல்லி பாத்தீங்கன்னா எக்ஸ்கியூஸ் ஆர் டு மீ. But am I actually finding some amount of time so that we can actually improve free spend in educating ourselves? Because students have to see myself as a learner. Right? I should learn. And only when I learn a lot of things, I can actually deliver much better. PhD any award ஆகுது. அன்னையோட என்னோட education புரிஞ்சு போச்சுன்னு நினைச்சோம்னா நம்ம சாப்டர் முடிஞ்சு teaching career. See, that is a new beginning. That where you actually step forward to look into new avenues. Okay. So 2 years back, I received a fellowship from Tamil Nadu Government State Council for Science and Technology. I went to IIT Palakkad. There was some professor who accepted me as his mentor. He became my mentor. I had to work in the lab. I have 2 options. I'm happy. Right? Everyone knows that. He has PhD students. Right? I have 2 options. I can either go and sit in the AC room. There are rooms available. And work in a computer, or I can go and watch the download class, so that I can carry the reaction. So I chose the second path. I went there, worked along with them. I learned some new skills, which my students are following. Okay, so you always have two roads to take. Who said that? The road not taken. The road less traveled, traveled first. உங்களுக்கு எப்பவுமே ரெண்டு பாதை இருக்கும், ஈஸியான பாதை, எல்லாருமே நடந்து போற பாதை. அந்த பாதையில போனீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு முழு குத்தாது. இந்த பாதையில போனீங்கன்னா நீங்க சேஃபா நடந்து போயிடலாம். எல்லாருமே அந்த பாதையில நடந்து போறாங்க. இன்னொரு பாதை லோட் லெஸ் டிராவல். ஸோ தேங்க்ஸ் ஆன் பை ராபர்ட் கிராஸ்பர்ன் பை நம்ம ஸ்கூல் டேஸ் நம்ம ரொம்ப படிச்சிருக்கோம். ஓகே, ஸோ விச் பாத் ஐ டேக்கிங்? ஸோ தட் இஸ் ஈஸி பாத், தட் இஸ் டிஃபிகல்ட் பாத். ஸோ விச் பாத் am I taking? Am I taking the easy path? Am I taking the difficult path? If I take the difficult path, I am going to see a lot of wonders there. So when I take that path, I see ஒரு நீர் வீழ்ச்சி தெரியுது, நிறைய மரங்கள் தெரியுது, நிறைய கிளாஸ் தெரியுது, அதெல்லாம் போகும்போது இது எல்லாரும் பாருங்க, பாதையா நடந்து போறாங்க. Nobody is looking at all the natural sceneries that you see around. Okay, so which path am I going to take? Is it the easy path or is it the difficult path? Okay, so always two paths are there. Which one am I going to choose? Okay. Okay. So these are about types. Nothing is funny. They asked me to wind up the sentence. So we are going to see since there are 5 different methods பார்ப்போம். Lecture method பார்ப்போம். again probability பார்ப்போம். then is the report. So various methods பார்ப்போம். The other methods some of the best methods are these methods. That is, suppose if you are a teacher, you are actually deliberately doing something. What are you deliberately doing? See, your students are in class and they submit themselves so that they get transformed in the process of learning. That's why the classroom not just get a degree. The degree getting is part of degree. Who gets transformed? That is most important. Okay. So there are 3 types of transformations that happen. One is cognitive, it's knowledge gaining. You acquire a lot of knowledge. You know about suppose the student is joining a course in English literature. Okay, first year they study some literature papers, second year Indian literature, then European literature, African literature. Okay, a lot of literature they study. Third year they know how to compare one literature and other literature, comparative study. The computer science student when he comes, she learns few basic languages in the first year, third year advanced languages. All these are happening in the cognitive level. That is true. No, that will happen. Okay, no problem. But something is missing always. That is called as affective domain. Affective means I should feel. எத்தனை ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் நம்ம கிளாஸ்ல வந்து ஃபீல் பண்ணி படிக்கிறாங்க. ஃபீல் பண்ணிக்கிறது கஷ்டப்பட்டே படிக்கிறாங்க. ஃபீல் பண்ணினா they show a passion or love towards the subject. இந்த மாதிரி யாருமே மாதிரி வராதவங்களுக்கு தான் நம்ம வந்து பேஷனேட்டா நமக்குள்ள பேஷன் இருந்தா தான் அவங்களுக்கு டான்ஸ் பண்ண முடியும். நமக்குள்ள பேஷன் கிரியேட் பண்றதுக்கான வழி we should do. Then psychomotor skills, building mastery in physical motor and practical skills to actions that we need. Right? Then since I am just winding up now, I am just rushing through. So these are the 4 methods. First method is outdated. That is the lecture method. You பார்த்தா the podium இருக்கு. நான் பேசுறேன். Okay. Podium என்னன்னா கம்ப்யூட்டர்ல இருக்கும். But that is a failure method. Right? So lecture method is failure. So what you can do? You can either choose a learner-centered method in which you can actually become a facilitator by using some activity in the classroom, by asking them to do a role play, by involving some new methods. Then you can actually make the classroom more interactive by creating some situations where the learning process becomes very smooth, and you can also teach them a content-focused method. So these 3 methods are always new methods, and these methods are actually more learner-centric methods compared to the older methods. Then in the teacher centric method, it is a one-way communication. It is not a banking model. என்கிட்ட வந்து 1 லட்சம் ரூபாய் பணம் இருக்கு, உங்ககிட்ட ஒரு 10 அக்கௌண்ட் இருக்கு, ஆளுக்கு ஒரு அக்கௌண்ட்ல 10,000 போடுறோம். ஓகே, போட்டா முடிஞ்சு. இது பேர் பேங்கிங் மாடல், எஜுகேஷன். இது ஃபெயிலியர் மாடல். இப்போ எந்த மாடல் சக்சஸ்ஃபுல் மாடல்? So இது வந்து கொஞ்சம் சக்சஸ்ஃபுல்லான மாடல். டீச்சர் becoming facilitator, where the interaction is happening among the students as well as within the team, between the teacher and student. Okay, there is constant discussion that is happening. Have you ever allow the students to ask questions? நம்ம கிளாஸ்ல ஸ்டூடண்ட்ஸ் क्वेश्चन கேட்க அலோவ் பண்றோம். So நம்ம क्वेश्चन கேட்க அலோவ் பண்றோம்னா ஸ்டூடண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் லிட்டில் பிட் கம்ஃபர்ட்டபிள் தான். சில பேர் எனக்கு வாங்க கேள்வி கேட்பாங்க சார், அவங்க நான் தெரியும். We should be in a psychological maturity to handle such students also. We gain it over the years. Because the rank numbers are something over the years we can actually learn things, a lot of things, and we can handle them. Okay. So discovery based method and inquiry based method. You know, topic is நிறைய தொடர்பு இருக்கு. But நான் இப்ப தான் இங்க வரேன், கோர்க்கே வரேன். Research and teaching is there. இப்போ நம்ம எல்லாரும் ஃபைனல் இயர் பாருங்க. ஃபைனல் இயர்ல பிஎஸ்சி ஃபைனல் இயர்ல பிஏ ஃபைனல் இயர்ல ஃபைனல் இயர் பாருங்க. ஓகே, கன்வென்ஷனலா ஒரு சில டாபிக்ஸ் இருக்கும். அதே வந்து இந்த ரூல் கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க. இல்ல அதை மாடிஃபை பண்ணிட்டு ஏதாவது கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க. ஏன் நியூவா ஒரு ப்ராஜெக்ட் கொடுத்துருக்கு நான் ட்ரை பண்ணுறேன். அதுதான் என்னோட செகண்ட் ஒர்க் ஷீட். I will just distribute it. You can just have it with you. There are certain questions you can create whenever you find time. Okay, later now. Local problems and weather. For example, there is physics department. These are science departments. So here Rami Patel create the ARCOT region create problem and weather in the project. This is the arts department. Commerce department. இங்க வந்து ஒரு ஆர்ஐ பட்ஜெட் வந்து ஒரு கேன்சல் பண்ணுது. ஸோ அந்த வீலிங் பீப்புளோடைய லைஃப் ஸ்டைல் எப்படி இருக்கு, அவங்களோட இன்கம் இப்போ எப்படி இருக்கு, அது ஆக்சுவலி பெய்ட் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் தி growth ஆஃப் தி இண்டஸ்ட்ரி அவங்களுடைய தொழில் ஏதாவது ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கா காமர்ஸ்ல அது பார்க்கலாம். காமர்ஸ்ல எக்கனாமிக்ஸ் இருக்கா, காமர்ஸ் எக்கனாமிக்ஸ் பண்ணி இன்னொரு பார்த்துருக்கலாம். இல்ல இங்க இருக்கக்கூடிய நான் பெற்றக்கூடிய சிப்பாக்கிறதுனால வாட்டர் பொல்யூஷன் ஏதாவது இருக்கா, இல்ல எக்ஸஸ் அக்ரிகல்ச்சர் பண்ணி நடக்குது, இங்க கூடிய அக்ரிகல்ச்சர்னால வந்து ஃபெர்டிலைசர்ஸ் லேண்ட் ஓட ஆல்கலினிட்டி வந்து இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆயிருக்கா. இதுதான் ரிசர்ச். ஓகே, நம்ம இங்க வரோம்னா டீச்சிங்கை நம்ம வந்து என்கேஜா மாற்றணும். அதை ரிசர்ச்சோட இன்டெகிரேட் ரிசர்ச்ல கம்ப்ளீட்டா போய் லேப்ல பண்ணிட்டு நம்ம வந்து லேப்ல கொடுத்து அப்படியே தான் இருக்கணும். யுவர் ஃபைனல் இயர் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் ப்ராஜெக்ட் அண்ட் இயர் ரிசர்ச் இல்லை இதெல்லாம் அப்ரூவ் பண்ண மாட்டாங்க. அப்ரூவ் பண்றதுக்கு எதுதான் அப்ரூவ் பண்ணணும். நீங்க ஒரு திங்ஸ் செட் பண்ணுங்க, இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ப்ராஜெக்ட் பண்ணி ஒரு ஐடியா இருக்கு. I understand that the management will also be allowing you to do such new things. Okay. So, அந்த மாதிரி நியூ ஐடியாஸ் நம்ம இன்சர்ட் பண்ணலாம், நியூ ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ் ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ணலாம். அதான் வேணும். ஓகே, ஸோ அதுதான் செகண்ட் ஷீட். ஸோ இந்த ஷீட் வந்து நீங்க கையில் வச்சுக்கோங்க. இதுல என்ன இருக்குன்னு சொன்னா நீங்க டீச்சிங்ல பேஸ் பண்ணக்கூடிய சில ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ், டீச்சிங் ரிசர்ச் இன்டர்ஃபேஸ்ல இன்குவரி பேஸ்ல நம்மளால ஏதாவது ப்ராப்ளம்ஸை கொண்டு வர முடியுமா? ஒரு ஃபைனல் இயர் ப்ராஜெக்ட் எம்எஸ்சி செகண்ட் இயர்ல பண்றது ஏதோ ஒரு நியூ ஸ்கோப் கொண்டு வரணும். அப்புறம் மெயினாக so that is what is all about this worksheet. So I just leave it with you. You can just have and just two more minutes. Okay. So these are the three things that we work on. We focus on three things, that is cognitive level, affective development, psychomotor development. So in these three areas, if you concentrate, you can actually concentrate in these areas by questioning. There are different levels of questioning. You can do that. And discussions, class over discussion நடக்குதா? class நாளே அமைதியா தான் இருக்கும். இந்த டீச்சரோட கிளாஸ் நிறைய சத்தம் வருது. அப்பமா பசங்க வெயிட்டிங்காங்களா? இல்ல வந்து லேர்னிங் ப்ராசஸ் நடந்துச்சு. ஒரு லிட்டரேச்சர் கிளாஸ்ல ஒரு ரோட்ல ஒரு சத்தம் வரதா சொல்லுங்க. ஒரு பையன் ஆக்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க, ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் வந்து ஆக்ட் பண்ணிருப்பாங்க, ஒரு ரோடு போயிருக்கோம் சத்தம் நல்ல சத்தம் let it happen because learning is happening so we are going to the next step okay so that is allowed okay and field trip expressions adutha naan learning process நடக்குது there are some students who actually got inspired to take a particular field as their passion because of the field trip ஒரு மெட்ராலஜிக்கல் சென்டர் இருக்கு அந்த மெட்ராலஜி சென்டர்ல போய் அங்க விசிட் பண்ணதுனால சில பேருக்கு வந்து மெட்ராலஜி படிக்கணும் அப்படின்னு ஒரு இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன் ஸ்கூல் ஏரியா அதனால சொல்றேன் so you can actually these things can actually inspire a lot there are many places where people feel alone so there is one mathematics center in Chennai Institute of Mathematical Sciences it is a DAE sponsored institute so if you write a mail they freely allow you they even pay you for your lunch அவங்களே கொடுத்துறாங்க போஸ்ட் பண்றாங்க you can take them around only mathematics research is happening some interdisciplinary computer science mathematics interface நிறைய research நடக்குது ஃப்ரீயா நம்ம போய் பார்க்கலாம் IT class alpha physics maths students can physics and chemistry students can go okay anonymity போய் பார்க்கலாம் okay then maybe you can class free allow in the government establishments only thing is you need to get a permission for permission they just receive an email from our institute or official letter இருந்தா போதும் take them there okay beautiful learning can happen lot of inspirations can come okay நான் வாய்ப்பு வரலாற்று மாணவர்கள் நம்ம கீழடியில அகழ்வாராய்ச்சி நடந்திருக்கு தமிழ்ல இருக்கவங்க தமிழ் எவ்வளவு பழமையான மொழி அங்கே போய் காணலாம் மைசூர்ல இங்கிலீஷ் ஒரு ரிசர்ச் இன்ஸ்டியூட் இருக்கு ஓகே அங்கே போய் காணலாம் ஸோ அந்த எக்ஸ்பிரஷன்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன்ஸ் ஆகும் there's a lot of scope that we need to explore okay so I think it's about time okay so I'm just winding up many things which I do not have time because of Indian Railways okay my train has to reach Tirunelveli by 9:30 but it reached around 10:40 okay so I will reach on time otherwise here but I heard that the first speaker also warmed up the session game so that's okay but it was very fun thank you so it was very encouraging because you are all very actively participating so thank you for your cooperation so you can fill this worksheets see many of these worksheets are available online available நான் ஒரு வெப்சைட் பாருங்க நோட் பண்ணிக்கங்க காலேஜ் சார் மீட்டிங் கிட்ட சொன்னாங்க அதே மாதிரி வே கிரவுண்ட் ஒரு வெப்சைட் WAY CROUND வே கிரவுண்ட் WAY CROUND playground.com free website கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு thousands of quizzes இருக்குங்க நீங்க அதெல்லாம் போய் எந்த quiz-ஆன எடுத்து யூஸ் பண்ணலாம் இன்ஸ்டன்ட்டா கிளாஸ் யூஸ் பண்ணலாம் நான் கிளாஸ் யூஸ் பண்றது பரவாயில்ல 1 டைம் இருக்கா இந்த வெப்சைட்ல போங்க அவனே quiz நிறைய வச்சிருக்கான் ஓகே அது உங்களுக்கு தேவையான क्वेश्चंस மட்டும் இந்த தேவையெல்லாம் ரெடி பண்ணுங்க இதன் மெயின் நம்ம quiz ஆட் you can do it for yourself so with that I conclude my session thank you
Thank you, sir. You beautifully highlighted how classrooms can become a vibrant place of curiosity and innovation, sir. I now invite our Vice Principal ma'am to honor our resource person with the certificate of appreciation. Thank you. I invite Mrs. P. Nirmala Devi ma'am from English department to propose the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to everyone present here. It is my honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks for today's faculty development program. First and foremost, I extend my sincere gratitude to our management for their continuous support and encouragement and for providing us with all the necessary facilities to conduct this activity program in a effective way. My heartfelt thanks to our principal ma'am and vice principal ma'am who have always guided us with motivation and valuable support throughout the program. I extend a special thanks to our resource person, Dr. A. Arun Vivek, Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry from St. Joseph College, Trichy. For sharing proper knowledge, valuable insights, and your session has truly enriched and empowered us. Once again, thank you, sir. A warm thanks to all our heads of various departments and faculty members for their enthusiastic participation and contribution, which added immense value to this program. My appreciation also goes to our technical members and supporting staff whose dedicated efforts behind the scenes ensure the smooth conduct of this session. Finally, I thank each and everyone who directly or indirectly contributed to the success of this FTP program. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. As we come to the conclusion of this 5-day meeting, we have witnessed not only the sharing of knowledge, but also the strengthening of professional bonds, new ideas taking shape, and educators inspiring educators. We are grateful for the patience with which you listened, the smile you returned, and the appreciations you shared. Every program will come to an end, but the learning you take from it ignites the path ahead. I thank all for making this journey memorable and meaningful. Thank you.
This one. Back வர மாட்டேங்குது இந்த பேக் எப்படி ஆ